Hey, I started this Sunday's note talking about Dumb Money, the new movie about the GameStop drama, and I'll talk a bit about it at the end here. But we actually started the serious note talking about the gasoline crack here in the US, which is just dumped, which is, obviously somewhat negative, but understandable. And our call remains that we think distillate is tight enough that will keep high oil prices into year end with the uncertainty of winter in an El Nino winter. So the point is that when the refiners run really hard to make distillate, they make too much gasoline. Gasoline demand, as we know, naturally falls, particularly in the US out of summer. So there's way too much gasoline and gasoline cracks are dumping. But the reality is that we still need the distillate, and so cracks, although they're coming down a lot, still remain strong. And we think that's enough to keep the oils going as equities relative to the market into year end, because we're very negative the market. And the negative the market call is essentially, if you watch the market on a tick basis, literally, you can see that as the treasury yield goes up, say for example, take the 10-year, literally tick by tick, the market will either go up or down. Now, I think the market wants to go up for good reason, because essentially the US economy's come through this whole drama so strong. And so I was talking to a client who said to me, really experienced, massive long short hedge fund, was saying to me that as far as he's concerned, it's all about the jobless numbers now, which is interesting because we get the jobless number this week. So we'll see. Another guy a year ago, massive hedge fund, told me, you can tell me what the Fed decision is tomorrow and I have no idea whether the market's going to go up and down. That's how tough it is when you have government intervention. And that, by the way, fits with the piece I wrote in Barron's, which is saying, by the way, when the government is this involved in markets, we have no idea what to do. I mean, can we just back the government off? We're looking at a situation here, by the way, where some guy is pulling a fire alarm in Washington and claiming he thought it was a door handle. And today on the local news, they were like, yeah, the American people don't really kind of care about that. But in Washington, they're all outraged. But the bottom line is, what are these people doing? And by the way, why do they think they had a victory when they just extended things for 45 days? I mean, I'm just going out of my mind with this stuff. And it's fascinating that you've got examples like solar is just getting crushed by the market this year, been awful. NextEra, which was big renewables growth play. The thing goes down 5% a day at the moment, never mind the MLP. And that's because the renewables thing, as we've said all along, look, I'm not a climate denialist at all. I think there's a problem. But what I'm saying is your solutions suck worse than the existing reality. And the fact of the matter is, if you want to recycle stuff, how about you maintain oil and gas infrastructure and maintain refineries whilst trying to get more efficient by, for example, raising gasoline taxes? But none of these people will do that. Anyway, I ended up in a rant. Okay, so the outlook for this week is all about the jobless number. We'll see. I mean, if it comes in rising jobless, and again, off the context of all-time low, I mean, since 1970, this job, we have extremely high employment at the moment, which is why the economy is not slowing down. But, we'll see if the jobless number comes in hot. The market's crazy enough that it actually might like it. The bottom line is that we think the market's under a lot of stress here. We think the T-bill is going to keep going up in terms of yield, and we think the market's going to stay under pressure, and as a result, we remain long oils. We're waiting now, just tonight, for the Exxon 8K. I'm not sure it's tonight. Oh, my thing's gone off. I'm not sure it's tonight or tomorrow, but essentially right after the quarter, you'll get the Exxon 8K with a profit guidance, and we think it's going to come in strong. So we think that, while a lot of these companies are pre-revenue or have issues, and whilst the so-called Magnificent Seven, I call them the Monopoly Seven that have driven the market this year, the big seven tech stocks, basically don't have earnings growth at the moment and have all traded on multiple. As long as the T-bill yield keeps going up, those guys are going to have to come down. One of the interesting things in the note yesterday was that we were looking at the Fear and Greed Index, and it's right at fear, nearly at extreme fear, but there's one area which is junk bonds that are extreme greed. And I was asking Greg Bordelon, my partner, my research partner, about why he thought that was, and he was like, well, the junk bond yield is heavily dominated, relatively speaking, by oil companies, and the oils have great balance sheets, and that's a key reason why we think they'll outperform the market here. Okay, very briefly on the dumb money. I always joke that there was in The Big Short, there's an extra playing me because I was effectively at Deutsche Bank whilst Greg Lippmann was calling the end of the world for the property market and getting it right. And whilst he's not called Greg Lippmann in the movie, and whilst obviously I'm not in it, I thought that the movie of the book, which the book is excellent by Michael Lewis, did a good job of actually trying to explain what the hell is going on. Dumb Money doesn't do that. Dumb Money is just like, this is an awesome story. Some dude made $30 million betting against big hedge funds, which is true. But they don't really explain the serious intricacies of actually what was going on. For example, do you know what a hedge fund is? Do you know what a short squeeze is? These are not necessarily questions for the average person. So for me as a Wall Street guy, it's a must-see. For my wife, she thought the story was great and we enjoyed the movie. What I did really get thrilled about was, and I was looking for a copy here right now, Killers of the Flower Moon is on my list of great oil books. I read it back when it came out in 2017. I thought it was a fantastic book. And I'm absolutely thrilled to sit in the Dumb Money waiting, watching the previews. And sure enough, they're like, new movie, Killers of the Flower Moon. And I'm like, no, you're kidding me. And then like, directed by Martin Scorsese. And I'm like, this cannot be true. And then it's like, starring Leonardo DiCaprio with Robert De Niro. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be so great. So that comes out on October the 30th, and I'm pretty excited about that. Dumb Money for Wall Street guys must see. Killers of the Flower Moon, I'm pretty thrilled about that. And by the way, I 100% recommend the book.